Hello everyone and welcome back to Torchlight Infinite. I was away for a while, but of course that obeyed the kind of the ebb and flow of the season. I decided to take a break to try some other stuff, do other stuff around, but now I'm back. There's gonna be a lot of videos coming on the next weeks because we have the season coming tomorrow. As usual, there are a lot of changes, and in this video, I'm gonna go over the most important changes specifically for Order Calling Moto. The patch notes are very long, and doing a full breakdown of them is gonna take me longer than an hour. So, because I know nobody's interested on looking at that, I'm gonna do this video instead. So, this video will be a discussion more or less, and I will show a few setups that I will try to use to level to 90, and one or two setups for endgame. The too long didn't watch version is Order Calling definitely got buffed, but is not to the level at which he was in season 3 to Nightmare. He will still struggle a little bit to break into the higher stages of the end game. So if you're expecting him to perform as good as, for instance, Erika did last season, that's not going to be this character. It will be better, but not still not a top tier character. The summary of the buffs is Green Phantom got buffed. The Spider Tank and Machine Guards also got a slight buff. Command got buffed. And yeah, that's pretty much the summary. So if you're only interested on knowing if he's gonna be a competitive high tier character, he's not. He's still gonna be good for anyone that actually likes the minion playstyle though. So let's get into the meat of the video for the people that are actually here for the details on the changes. First of all, I'm gonna go over like the specific part of them. I made a few notes here. So the basic trait now deals an additional 5% damage. Um, this in hindsight is better than what it seems here, because this 5% translates to every single source of overload effect that he gets. So this 5% damage can be way higher than it seems. It's not just 5% additional damage. It's like this is the base overload effect. So it's a decent change in hindsight. The trait all in, which is this trait here, the one they get at level 45, now will grant them 150% crit rating instead of 100. So 50% crit rating. It's decent, but again, I don't think any of like these two in isolation are not insane buffs, but they are definitely. This one can be noticeable once you start gearing up. This one is just gonna make the crit cap a little bit better, easier to reach. Now, in terms of skills, Green Phantom got most of the buffs for the skills. So the base cooldown of the active ability is reduced from 8 to 5 seconds. You can now cast it while using other things. So like if you're using Path of Flames or Savage Charge, you can still use it while activating this ability, so it's gonna be better. It's gonna prioritize targets. They increase the base movement speed of the Green Phantoms, which is not a huge deal because you were teleporting them around anyway. The length of the beam, so the high energy beam is the base skill of the character. This one, so this is gonna be a little bit longer. So this is the effectiveness, 53%. It's very low. Okay, so the beam is gonna be slightly longer. The high energy beam maximum angle got reduced. What this means is when you were using these skills, the minions, and you add extra beams via scattershot beam, for instance. So the angle would be that. and the more beams you add, the bigger the angle would get. So they reduce the maximum angle to make it a little bit narrower. That makes the clear worse for like peripheral targets, but it makes it be able to overlap on single targets a little bit better. So all in all, I think it's a positive change. And the most important one is this one. Each beam of Green Phantom grants an additional 30% damage to Destructive Light Cannon. Destructive Light Cannon is the active ability, which again, first of all, it has a very high effectiveness of damage. It has a very high spell added damage, base damage, and now it's gonna scale for each beam you add. So the way to add beams is Scattershot beams and a mod on the staves. So each one of them is going to represent a 30%. With Scattershot beam, this support went from being a 13% additional damage to being a 73% additional damage for this for that skill. So Green Phantom, way better. On investment, I think their baseline is still gonna be worse than Spider Tanks and Machine Guards, at least for like early stages of the mid game to end game, right? After that, they're gonna be the best. Spoiler alert. They also added this. I forgot to add this to my notes, but the staff mod that adds damage to spells now also adds minion damage. So if that works the way everything else works with off the beaten track, that's basically gonna be a double dip on minion added damage. So I think that's gonna be big for the build. Okay. Then fighter tanks and machine guards got a slight buff on their damage effectiveness. Now that number you cannot see in game, but if you go to something like TLIDB, they already updated it in TLIDB. If you click here on name shot, if you hover over it, that's the damage effectiveness. For spider tanks, it was 61%, and for machine guards, it was 49%. 76 for spider tanks and 61 now for machine guards. Keep in mind that the damage effectiveness it's the same from level 1 to level 20 and then scales from level 21 to level 30 and then stop scaling, but it's gonna be overall a slight buff to both of these skills, which it was needed. Now, one that I think is gonna be very big is that isomorphic arms now gives the minions 50% additional attack and cast speed. That's gonna be meaningful because the sources of additional attack and cast speed got removed from everywhere. So getting another one of those is very good. Of the isomorphic arms was already kind of a like a staple for Order Calling, I think, because giving them the weapon, since they no longer scale like from the base attack speed of the weapon, they only scale of their base attack speed. So you could give them like slow weapons. Now they're gonna get on top of that 15% additional attack at cast speed. So that's a good one. And command used to provide 2% additional damage. Now it's gonna provide 3% additional damage per point on command. And that's the list of the changes on character level. Now let's go over the gear changes. So for the gear changes, I prepared this TLIDB links where they are already updated. So first of all, the Fiend Crown used to give. Okay, we can search for a Fiend Crown here. But this is case sensitive. So Fiend Crown used to be 15 attack speed. Well, this is like variant attack speed, movement speed, resistance, sealed mana. It used to scale. So this is corroded. Corroded will scale up to 90% crit damage. Non-corroded was like I think 40 to 60. Yeah, 40 to 60 crit damage. So now is 80 to 100 crit damage. And the lucky. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that they are going to be changing the way legendary items work. So legendary items are no longer only gonna have this, but they will have the ability to have like additional modifiers similar to if you've played last epoch. That's like the legendary potential part. So you will be able to have like life resistances or something like that, something like the rare mods on items, but on legendary items. So this is just like the base version of the item. The aptitude is gonna dictate how many mods it can have, and the tiers of those mods. It's kind of a complicated thing, but we're gonna be expanding on it during the season. But just so you know, this is the base version of the item. It's worse because it no longer has attack speed or seal mana, but it has the potential to be better than before. The horn ring, I think this is one of the better items for minions right now. On this version of the game. So this used to give from 80 to from 10% to 80 crit damage, so it was a very high variance. They reduced the variance and increased the baseline by a lot, so it's 100 to 120% crit damage every 4 seconds. We already spam empower skills, so you can consider this to be given. The corrosion can take it up to 150% crit damage, and remember, you will be able to have additional modifiers here. So all in all, the horn ring is gonna be the premium item for your endgame builds, most likely, especially if you get a really well rolled one. Decayed Mind, now instead of converting 50% like it used to before, it converts 100% now. And this used to give 15% additional damage. Now it's 25%. I think this will be a competitive mid game build, and by mid game I refer to Decayed Mind is gonna be good to take you to like 8 to 8.1. Maybe slightly further. So I'll keep an eye for this item if I were you playing this character. Now Breastpin was already a best in slot amulet for Moto. Now more. So let's look at the earlier version of the previous version of the Breastpin. So you'll see here that this will roll from 1 to 5 passive level. You will have minion life, minion damage, only deal physical damage, and 60 to 120 crit rating and crit damage applied to minions. The crit damage, again, the variance got reduced and increased, so it's 100 to 120% on baseline. And the passive skill level got changed to 2 to 3 main skill level. So it now actually provides level to your minions, other than Spirit Mages, which were already passive skills. So all in all, Breastpin gonna be best in slot. You wanna be farming this item, you wanna be trading for this item, you want to corrode it, you want to get get high legendary attitude on this item and crafting it to get your best in slot stats. This is gonna be your chase item, the chase item in the end game for Moto. One of those. Miniature Void Sea. I don't know if the previous version of this item already had like a multiplicative damage modifier, but this time around, well, it actually says it's additional damage for every minion that you have, and this could go up to 7%. So at the very least, that is 7 times 8. That could be up to 56% additional damage on the globes. It's good, especially with good legendary attitude, since we don't really have any compelling offensive modifiers on gloves for minions currently. So this will definitely come in handy, no pun intended. Mind Infusion. This used to be 10 to level 15 Dark Gate. Now is baseline 15, but instead of +2 minion skill level, it's only +1. It can still be corroded to +2. I don't know how I feel about this item. Like, unless you get the movement speed, this is completely worthless. So I would. It has the potential to be good, but I don't really like it. But still, minion skill level is huge. You want to get to level 30. Beyond level 30, you can play around different combinations of gear. But again, on boots, there aren't really many offensive options. So Mighty Fusion might still be the best in slot for boots. Endless Fortress got nerfed for some reason. There's also this line that they stated that they bug fixed it. See, it says fixed an issue where the effect of increasing the upper limit of synthetic troops did not work. Now, I don't really understand that line, because if you see here that I have 5, if I equip Endless Fortress, I get to 6. So, what this makes me think is that they're actually fixing the interaction with mechanical modification, where uh, you'll get your minimum reduced, you will get your maximum character limit and skill limit reduced to the point where no matter what you did, you were never able to summon more than 3 minions with mechanical modification. So if that's that way, and we can get at least 4 minions with mechanical modification, then this will also become a best in slot gear option. But that's all speculation, because I don't really know, and I haven't been able to get clarification from the devs or the team. Okay, and this is probably the most important one, is the Rat Herder's Golden Rain. This is the Spellburst belt. It was introduced last season. It still drops from the Miss Bell final boss. So this item is not gonna be league started friendly, of course, but my guess is that this will be the best in the best endgame build for Moto is gonna use this item. And what they did is that first of all, the spellburst charge speed provided by the item was rolled up to 400%, and you required to corrode it to 600. And the same thing for the upper limit of spellburst, which is plus. It was +4, now it's +6 in the baseline. To be honest, I don't think I don't think either of these corrosions is good. They seem terrible to me, because it's recently is on 4 seconds. Like, you reach this number after 2 seconds if you're using any of either Savage Charge or Path of Flames. So having this go faster instead of go higher, it's bad. The corrosions are bad, but the base item got buffed, so you can just get any version of it, use it. You will roll it with legendary attitude to get a good one. So yeah, good change. Okay, that's the end of like the specific minion changes, I think. At least the ones I found to be the most important. Now we're gonna go over like generic changes that still affect the character. First of all, is the most important one is that skills now also scale with attributes. So that means that for every 2 points of attribute you have, you get a 1% additional damage for the skill that scales with that attribute. And most skills have like 2 attributes that can scale them. So for instance, spider tanks have dexterity and intelligence, machine guards have strength and intelligence, and Green Phantoms is only intelligence. But that opens another avenue for scaling, so it's good. What they did to balance that is that we used to get attribute points for every single point you allocate on these trees. That this part is gone, so you will only get attributes from points that actually say that they give you attributes, and from the other ones you're not gonna get any. We didn't really path um through any like attribute points, because I don't think there are any on the minion trees. So On the base tree, this doesn't really affect us. The difference is that you can get the attributes on gear to get that extra additional damage. So it might be a good option to scale in the end game. I'm not sure, but it could be. Dream crafting, it's gone per se. Uh, what you do with dreams is, yeah, I think they removed it completely. Since instead of like having rare items with legendary notes like what you will have from an amulet with off the beaten track or with the breastpin mod, something like that, not off the beaten track, with the breastpin mod, that can no longer be done. But instead what you will have is like a warden breastpin that has like three rare mods or something like that. So dream changed a little bit. Aura reservation and aura effects was nerfed. So basically, the supports that we use for auras now have higher multipliers. Like standards one multiplier became higher, and aura and like the actual aura effect numbers got reduced. But that affects every single character. So yeah, it's a nerf across the board. Um, and another important changes to gear, again, this is generic. It's that they added modifiers to certain pieces of gear. So, for instance, in the helmet, you can trigger empower skills, so we can get elemental shock on the helmet, which will be good for green phantoms. You can also get curses to nearby enemies, so we can get double or triple curse from crafting gear and using different pieces of gear like the amulets. Chest armor can now have an affix which transfers up to 20% of damage taken to a random summoned minion, which is it's quite good in my opinion. And we're also gonna be getting this mods on armor, which are contingency, curtain, indifference, defensiveness, and inner side, which I'm gonna display on screen and should be showing now. On gloves, we're gonna get stone skin. Other than that, or reform, both of them are good. Fixate could be good, just for the mark, but otherwise it's unremarkable for us. And on the boots, we can get delayed pain and nourishment if you decide to go for like a summoned spirits version. That could be decent. And another important change is that the some of the skills got their level scaling adjusted to a lower version of it. It's unclear how much is going to be. We don't really know, and we will have to wait for the devs to clarify or for the information to be live tomorrow. We don't know yet. Another change is that the activation medium minion got nerfed to the point where I don't think it's worth using at all anymore. Like, the most you're gonna get is 42%. When you consider that on machine guards, on summon machine guards, you could use something like steamroll to get 45% additional damage. You can also use recklessness. You can use precision strike, which is 33%. Like, pretty much every single support is better than this one. This is absolute trash. It's completely horrible. It's useless. I don't know what their intention is with this one, because the little the little quality of life provided for summoning the minions is not worth giving up uh a damage link, which we're already kind of lacking anyway. So I don't know, I'm very upset about this change, because again, for if you compare every single activation medium, like other ones had like 1000% multiplier, like wind rhythm, not wind rhythm, with rhythm. So activation, medium, rhythm. So you get up to 12% additional damage up to... Okay. Okay, this got massively reduced to apparently. You can get only up to 40%. Right? I guess they go all turn to ash. Anyway, I'll digress. The only one that matters actually is wind rhythm for us. And this is still good. Okay. So that's pretty much the part of the changes. Now let's go over possible leveling setups and possible endgame setups too. So for leveling, I think the version that I used on the previous season, which was just use 2 different minions to summon them to get to the limit. So you start with 2, you add maniacal army, that's 3. You use 3 here, so that's 6 minions. It makes clear better, it makes mapping better, it makes bossing better in the campaign. So I would go for something like this. So Green Phantom, they automatically summon, and Machine Guards, they are very durable. They don't die at all. You use Blink for mobility, you use Life Source so you don't die, and Machine Army for extra bit of damage. And during the campaign, you can use whatever auras you like. I really like using Swiftness and Rejuvenation and whatever, damage auras that actually work. And for gear, you would use the like the side areas that they added last season. I forgot the name, but you will try to get 2 interlocking souls, which also got better, but I don't think it's much relevant because it's just a leveling item. You will try to aim for a lonesome, which will make your main skill deal a lot more damage, and the rest of the gear is just for defenses. So I think this will be your campaign setup. Talents, you will go God of Machines and you will get Orders and Mighty Guard. Just grab in the early game, just grab damage. Don't worry, but damage and movement speed is all you care about, honestly, in the early game. During the campaign, so just get minion attack and cast speed everywhere. Get minion damage. Get some commands. Get damage, damage, damage. That's all. That's all you want. Once you reach the point where you can summon 6 from a single minion, which is once the minion skill level reaches level 18, or you get a piece of gear that actually grants you +1. No, actually, you can do that before. Now that I think about it, if you go for summon spider, so if you're level 9, if your skill is level 9 and you have boss, you can summon. This is +1, +3, or that'll be 5. Yeah, you need to reach level 18 to be able to summon the 6 minions from the single skill with maniacal army and boss. If you get a gear piece, then it will be level 9. But once you get to that point, you will remove, like, let's say you remove summon machine guards and add like elemental shock or a defensive skill, or any other debuff. You can add whatever here. I would say elemental shock or dazzling bloom if you get the relic would be the best options. Okay, so that's for leveling. For the end game, there are several options. Spider tanks, it's very good with this setup. I'll not say it's very good. It's just good with this setup. So you got with at least the 4-piece set, because honestly, the 6-piece set, you get so late in the game that at that point you don't really need it. It doesn't really do anything for you. So just go for the 4-piece. Keep in mind that the elemental resistances on the 4-piece is gonna be removed, but these are going to have like the legendary, the different attributes, and I think we're getting a +1 minion skill level somewhere um, on any of this. I don't know if it was on the rings or the gloves, but we're getting +1 minion. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Now, so for spider tanks, you would go. I will go for a setup like this: servant speed, either jump or multiple projectiles, or pierce, or both. Multi-strike, maniacal, and lightning pen. You want electrocute, you can use either speed phantom or blink, source, and machine army. And then electric conversion and precise projectiles. If you decide to go thunder lightning conversion, which is on this node with multi-strike, the other option is playing with the version I use for POB4, which is very similar, still using Blade Runner, but instead it's using static. Which what static does is give you an additional damage, an additional attack speed multiplier while you're standing still. So you stand still, you use multi-strike, and in this case, this is the Cane Man version with erosion conversion. I think this will actually be a very good endgame. It'll be better than last season, and this was like 150 billion DPS. I think I listed it here, right? No, not even 100. It was like 20 billion DPS. Probably gonna be way better next season, to be fair. The weapons of choice, I went for this, but I don't know if this is the actually best one. Probably the hammer with +4 is gonna be better than using like this setup I did here. But you will of course go for Winter of Origin. Now I forgot to mention Winter of Origin, but all in all, you lost the minion attack and cast speed, so another one of those there. But all the rest is the same. It's almost the same item. So we'll go for something like this. In the end game is also very good. I'm gonna include the links to these build codes on the description of the video, and this you can do almost the same thing you're doing here with machine guards. I just like spider tanks better, honestly, but you could do machine guards. And you can decide if you're gonna use activation minion or something else. I don't think minion is gonna be good. Again, it's like can go to 45% additional damage. So yeah, I will have crit damage here if I don't have it on the candle. Um, and the candle is still gonna be servant damage. It could be attack focus. It could be grudge. It could be crit damage. It could be spell concentration. Whatever you can get your hands on the candle. That is like a plus an additional support skill, which is the biggest multiplier. And then aura effect. The new servant damage per command. That's also very good for the candle. And in this version for erosion, you go. The good thing is that you aura stack. You can stack 3 offensive auras if you so desire, which is erosion enhancement, weapon amp, and then depending on what you're doing, if you do spider tanks, you can use precise projectiles. If you're doing machine guards, you do a fearless. But it's just a slight change that you have to do, and you can build them both fairly similar. For the pedigree, you either go for Mighty Guard or ISO arms, and then you take whatever you can get on the pedigree. And for this, you just go, skill levels, command, damage, crit damage, the usual stuff. This is what I discovered was the best, in my opinion. The overload per minion, it's still dependent on whether or not we're gonna use mechanical modification. I don't think we will, so this might still be the best in slot, and this might be the second, or very similar to when you have instead uh, this is good, and the one that gives like minion attack and cast speed per attack they've done recently, that's also very good. And the one that I think, however, that will be like the best build, the best endgame build for Moto next season is gonna be Green Phantom Spellburst with the Rat Herder's Golden Rain belts. So here's a basic setup. Again, this will be endgame because you need the belt, and you need to either farm the belt or buy it from whomever is doing Mistveil. This only drops from the boss, and usually only fight the boss on day 15. Reaching day 15 on Mistveil is very hard early on, so it's gonna take a while before you start seeing these. But once you do, I will go for them, and yeah, I think this is gonna be the best endgame build for Moto this season, and it's what I'm going to be aiming to play. So a few of the things that you will want here, again, I think the horn ring is gonna be good. 100 base crit damage and 150 if you get it corroded. You use two of them, you get some resistances here to offset the additional damage taken. Gonna be good. Mind Infusion boots or rare boots, depends. Warden Breastpin is gonna be there for sure, but only after you manage to corrode it to your minions cannot deal physical damage. That's gonna be, I don't know how corrosion is gonna work because we only have 2 mods, right, on the Breastpin, so it's kind of like a 50-50 to get it if you get uh uh yeah, kind of like a 50-50. So it might be easier to get this time around. But if you don't have that, you cannot use Warden Breastpins, of course, because otherwise you don't do any damage. Rare helmet with one of the mods, the empower effect, the empower skill, or the curse. And gloves are very good for defense. You get life, you get regen, you get resistances there, the endless fortress. And for the staff, because of the new scaling they added, we want the spell skill level, which affects the Green Phantom. We want the beams, these added damage, so they're gonna get this mod, and there's also an additional mod that is gonna say added damage to minion. We can actually probably look for it here. It's actually here, craft. Okay. Two-handed staff, and also we can verify if they also added that to once, which I don't think they did, but if they did, that would be awesome. Okay, I don't think this is updated, so we'll have to wait. Until the live game. Okay, they added it once and not to staves. So that changes things a little bit. But anyway, I digress. That changes how you will craft the staff. Instead of getting the added damage, get any of the additional modifiers, such as this one: additional cast speed, reduced cast speed, additional damage, or additional damage applied to life. Any of them is good, but still, the beans is gonna be good. And then damage for spell burst could be intelligence, because this is 200. Probably this value is gonna be lower. Let's assume that this is correct. Okay, so this is going up to 65 now. And intelligence. Okay, it's a prefix instead of a suffix. And it's up to 135. So yeah. It's going to have to be a different craft, all in all. But minion attack and cast speed could be good. Curse effect, aura effect, skill area, any of those you can get. Deal double damage is amazing. Minion double damage because that also double dips. In terms of the passive tree is here. It's very, self-explanatory. You would swap some of the points from damage to defenses later in the game, but early on you only grab damage. And I still Vanguard is just like the best tree in the game. You can use this early to fix your resistances, both elemental and erosion resistances. Once your gear is on point, you switch those off and you get more damage or utility here. The most important points in Steel Vanguard, in my opinion, are going to be Empower Skill Effect and this cooldown recovery skill duration, which increases significantly the uptime that you get on your Empower skills. And of course, the Sealed Mana and Aura effect. For the separate control center, again, I will go for Dazzling Bloom and Overload effect for every minion that you have. Then you will use Dazzling Bloom and Machine Army. For the memories, there are several options that I tested, and all of them seem to be fairly close in terms of performance, which is command for every for every 2 synthetic troops that you have. You actually want this to roll for every 1 that you have, so that's the most important part of the roll. And then aura effect for every 10 command that you have. Minion double damage, always good to cap that to 100% chance to deal double damage. And the other option is overload effect. So you can go for whatever you get your hands on. This is pretty much the standard setup. You can or cannot do low life. I don't think low life is that good with Grims when compared to the others. For the God of Machines Divinity, I would go for command. High command generation, minion level, synth level, damage, crit damage, some defensive options that might be interesting as well. For the pedigree, again, Mighty Guard or isomorphic arms, whatever you can get your hands on. I like to go kinetic conversion. The good thing about machine is the base tree is decent but not great, but passives are very flexible. If you need defense, you can get like 2 good defensive options here. If you need more damage, you can just go full damage here as well. Candles, again, you go Grudge, Servant Damage, Crit Damage, Spell Concentration, any of those would work. For the Green Phantoms, you want Activation Medium Wind Rhythm. What that does is that it will constantly be casting the active ability. And Wind Rhythm also reduces the cooldown based on how much cast speed you actually have. So you will do this and it will constantly be doing it like every fractions of a second you will get a trigger of the spell. Shot Beam, again, because of the beam multiplier, this is like the best support you can have here. This is debatable. This, if you get it on the candle, you switch this for like spell concentration. And elemental fusion, it's most likely gonna be staple because we're not gonna be doing elements. Machine Army, if you can automate it, you will do. Otherwise, you will always do like Mania +2. Like Mania is it's mandatory in Empower skills. I really like the version where I get injury buffer and life source. I pretty much almost never die when I have that. And what you do is like activation medium life. You use residues and you use auto charge, and that way your life goes lower than like 30% max life. You heal and then you keep healing for the duration. And then Savage Charge, you can either do Savage Charge or Path of Flame. Path of Flame's got an upgrade which makes it very more friendly to use. But the good thing about Savage Charge is the ability to add guard and harden. So harden is a 10% less damage taken. Guard is barrier. They are removing the barrier penalty for guard. So I think this will be the best option. And again, you want to be channeling because of the belt. And for auras, I would, even though they reduce the max elemental resistances that you get with this aura in the precise version. I think it's still a very good defensive option to use. But if it's not good, then I will use steadfast and precise steadfast instead. Electric conversion, summon for spirits, elemental purification. The auras is gonna be flexible, and the min maximum will have to be figured out because of the new values of reservation and the skill effects. But the good thing is that on the staff we can get off the beaten track as well. And off the beaten eases you into the aura reservation setup massively, and it increases the values of the supports as well. So it's gonna be fairly good to get that on the weapon. Anyway, I still took almost an hour for this video. If you're still watching, I deeply appreciate it. I'm gonna be league starting Moto. I know it's not gonna be the best one, but it is what it is. We still play the dwarf. If you're still watching up to this point, I would love to hear what you will be league starting this season. If you're gonna give a try to any of these builds I suggested, or if you had in mind any other build that you might think is way better than any of the ones I discussed here, I'm willing to listen to you, and maybe change my plans as well to have an easier time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the game in the coming season, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for your support, and have a great day.